Welcome back, and here we are in our fifth video on Flash CS6. This time we're going to be taking a look at several different things. I have an example file here. I'm going to allow to play here in a second, but it's demonstrating one of the first things you notice is that there are some kind of nice color effects going on to the text here. So we're going to take a look at text and then how to do a thing called breaking it apart so we actually get it down to raw shapes. Which allows us then to use things like gradients to fill in a color scheme. Because normally text can just be one solid color, but if we take a couple extra steps, we can make it like a shape and then take on some different fill patterns. So we'll take a look at that. So let's go ahead and we're going to start up a new file, and we're going to do this in another new way just to make sure we've covered some extra territory. So I'm going to go File and New. And then notice that in this case, now I can see some of the details right here that I'm used to seeing once I've created my file, and then I can go edit. But in this case, I think we're going to go ahead and change some of these things right away to get the point across that you should think about how big you want your animation to ultimately be, especially if it's just going to be a small piece of a web page, for instance. Okay, so I'm going to lower this down to 200 for the height. I'm going to leave the width at 550. 24 frames per second is still pretty nice for animation, so we'll leave that around. And then the color for the background, I'm going to change this just a bit. Maybe have things stand out a little bit. I'll use my little globe here. And I'll start with maybe a yellowish color. And yeah, maybe something like that as my background color. So that's my stage color. Okay. Notice that autosave is here. I do recommend that you do something with autosave so that you don't inadvertently get down the road and go, oh no, the flash crashed or something came up or the power went out. That way you hopefully don't lose any more than 10 minutes worth of work. All right. The one last thing to just kind of remind everybody of, as we're using this, it notes that we're creating an FLA file. And by default, remember the language behind Flash is called ActionScript, and the latest version is 3.0. So we're not going to really touch ActionScript in this series. We're more about making the animations happen in Flash. But if you wanted to get into some programming, there are some pretty cool effects that you can do programmatically, which have a lot of power as well. That's using the language called ActionScript. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and create this new spot, and you can see, sure enough, there's my stage. And it's the same color, and we do have our updated dimensions, so we left the 550 alone and we changed it to a 200 for the height. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and bring my timeline back up. If you ever want to minimize something, you can just come over to it, and in the latest versions of Flash you double click right on the words. It used to be that you'd click in this gray area, but they've changed that. So if you're trying to minimize something like the library, just double click and off it goes. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and choose a couple of items that I've created in this other file already. And you can see those are two what looks like text items that I've converted to symbols after applying the gradient to them. So I'm going to bring over these two, and then we'll develop this one ourselves so that you guys can see how that's done. Okay, so I'm going to copy these guys from one project, go to my new guy that I've already got, and I've pasted them here so we can see there they are. Okay, so of course, if I really want them to be doing something, then I need to put them on the stage, right? So I'll highlight those guys, pop them on here, and remember right now they're both on the same layer. So one quick and easy way, if you've brought over several things that you want to be on different layers, is to go ahead and right-click and then choose Distribute to Layers. Okay, and that nicely, again, that automatically puts the names of the symbols onto the layers for us. If we didn't have that, we can always double click and then type something in ourselves. Okay, so I'm going to hide those two for the time being, and I'm going to change this one to campus since we're going to develop that one ourselves right now. And I'm going to go ahead and choose the text item, and now I'm going to go ahead and make a box for my new word campus. That's the one we don't have yet, so I'll go ahead and type that in, resize this a little bit, bring it down to the center of the stage a little bit more too. Okay, so here I am. I've got my word typed in, and I can see that the color is right now black. And when I open up this window, for colors, I can see that I have a choice of lots of different solid colors, so which is fine. Typically, we do want words and letters each to be a solid color. We don't want a mixture of colors or shades inside of a particular letter. But in our case, we're building something that's going to have these words be treated as parts of our animation. So we really want them to stand out a little bit, make them a little more splashy. So what I'm going to do is hit escape to get out of that and highlight my words. And I'm going to use this combination of Control B to first break it into letters. And if I wanted to at this point, I really could treat those as separate layers and do some separate animations with each letter of campus to have some fun. Might take me some time to animate each letter and have it be a good animation, but I could do that. And one more step then is Control B again, and that breaks it down into these little dots. We see little dots all over the place on our various letters. And if you look over at the right hand side of the properties, it now indicates that Flash is treating what we see as the word campus as a shape, because we've broken it down twice with Control B. So now if you notice, when I click on the fill color, in addition to these solid colors, I also have these gradient colors. Alright, so what is a gradient? Well, a gradient allows us to have more than one color involved in a fill pattern, and it's a pretty nice way of being able to kind of spruce up, make things look sharp, and you'll see this a lot with various shades of one color. So right now, by clicking on this little artist palette, I can see that the one I chose, which happened to be the green one, that's just our starting point. I can always add and delete portions of a gradient, and I can change which colors are being used too. So right now I have a green radial gradient, and that means that it's radiating out kind of in a circular or spherical pattern as opposed to a linear pattern. Okay, so I can see that I've got a couple things going on. I have a green over here, and I can change this right now if I wanted to. So if I change that to yellow, straight away you can see it happening over in the words. I'll put it back to that green. If I want to add in another shade or a different color altogether, all I have to do is click right below this area of color and choose a new color. Okay, and by doing that, I can also kind of change how it's going to affect my overall word over here. Okay, and I can also grab the black one over here, and if you notice that since I have three guys right now, two of them have the little white caps, the little white triangles, and this guy has the black one. That's the one I'm currently changing. So if you're in the midst of working on something, you know which one you've got. I'm just going to change this to a dark green as opposed to the solid black. Okay, and then maybe for one more time I will add in an actual black too. Okay, so just like that, I'm able to really change how something looks, and this gradient can be applied to shapes that we draw, like circles, rectangles, stars, you have it, or by the text. And remember, our pattern of doing that was to highlight everything, break it apart twice, and then it turned it into a shape. Okay, so before we go, we're going to do our last step, which is going to be to convert this into a symbol, because for animating purposes, we really want to treat this as all one thing. Okay, so the quick shortcut on the keyboard for converting something to a symbol is F8, and I'll call this campus. Notice that it's a graphic type. We'll leave that alone, that's fine. And our registration point is in the center again. Okay, and as soon as I do that, I now see that it's on its own layer, and it's also now added to the library because it's something I'm using in this project. Okay, so I think that's good for now, and in the next video we'll take a look at how to use the mask to have some kind of fun animating kids on campus.